and all speakers and fellows of KBP Fellowships, and of course, all participants today. It is my pleasure to give this welcoming remark for this important conference. First of all, I would like to appreciate and congratulate CRCS and ICRS and all the partners for organizing this conference. The Graduate School of Universitas Gadjah Mada is responsible for managing multidisciplinary programs concerning strategic issues. The graduate schools is expected to contribute to our nation's complex problem by utilizing an integrative and multidisciplinary approach. The graduate school has 25 study programs consisting of 14 master programs and 11 doctoral programs covering science and technology, social sciences, and humanities. Each of the programs is supported by several faculties through the involvement of lectures from different scientific fields.
International Conference, Religion and Human Rights.
Multidisciplinary character in graduate school. The theme of this conference on religion and human rights is in line with the topic of the research agenda and conference this year, that is digital possibilities in the post-pandemic era and the impact on sustainable development.
So what are you up to today?
I hope this conference will contribute Thank you all. Congratulations, and I hope you will find the conference enriching and good time at University Gadjah Mada. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ibu Siti Malhama, for welcoming remarks. Furthermore, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Insinyur Jagal Wisoso Marsono, Vice Rector for Education, Teaching and Student Affairs, Gadjah Mada University. The time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Nama Budaya, salam kebajikan, Salam. Good morning, Honorable Dean of Graduate School, Universitas Gadjah Mada, distinguished speakers, Profesor Haidar Bagir sebagai Ketua Umum Muhammadiyah, distinguished speaker Profesor Nelly and Professor Lena and Professor Goldman, and also Honorable Head of Graduate Studies, Bapak Professor Zainal from ICRS, and Professor Syamsul from Master Degree Program, and Bapak Iqbal, and also all of the participants in this international conference. First of all, on behalf of the Rector of Universitas Gadjah Mada, I would like to welcome you all to Universitas Gadjah Mada. The Rector is sending greetings and wish that this conference will run well and all the participants find enriching academic atmosphere at this campus. We thank CRCS, ICRS, and all the partners, speakers, and participants for organizing this conference, and hope that you will enjoy the conference and return to your universities with good experience at Universitas Gadjah Mada. I am pleased to deliver this opening remark because the topic of this conference is very important and timely. Universitas Gadjah Mada is currently the oldest university in Indonesia and therefore hold the responsibility as an example to create a peaceful academic and living environment for everyone. We are especially committed to fight challenges to human rights issues such as extremism, intolerance, discrimination, and sexual violence. As this conference is especially concerned with the issue of human rights education in higher education, we look forward for the results and recommendation of the conference. I also see from the schedule that this conference will also have a business meeting to discuss the possibility of forming an association for human rights lectures. I support this important idea and hope that this will materialize and contribute to the mainstreaming of human rights education in university. Finally, our global community are facing a great challenge today with wars, social conflicts, environmental destruction, food scarcity, and so forth. It is important that international community work together to address these challenges. Learn from different experience as every country has unique history. This question of how do universal values like human rights applied in different contexts require continuous discussion. I hope that this conference can become a good space for an open mutual discussion with regard to issues of human rights and global challenge today. Finally, congratulations, and I hope you all enjoy the conference and your time at Universitas Gadjah Mada. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pak Jagal Wisoso Marsono, for opening remarks. Before we start today's agenda, I will remember for audiences in this room. When you have a question, please stand up and introduce your name and affiliation. Without further ado, we start the first session in this today's agenda with the theme, Reflection on Religion and Human Rights in Higher Education. I would like to invite Bapak Zainal Abidin Bagir from Indonesian Consortium for Religious Studies as a moderator in this session. I invite two speakers. First, Ibu Lena Larsen from the Oslo Coalition of Freedom of Religion or Belief. Second, Bapak Syamsul Arifin from University Muhammadiyah Malang. The floor is yours.
Yeah, please. Yeah, good morning, everyone. It's really a happy time for us to meet old old acquaintance, not old people. I see many of the alumni of our fellowship programs are here. Probably, if I'm not mistaken, around 50 of them are here. And also a number of our alumni, our partners, both in Indonesia and outside Indonesia. And of course, welcome Bu Lena Larsen. Bu Lena Larsen is the director of the Oslo Coalition for Freedom of Religion or Belief. And in this session, we will have Professor Syamsul Arifin, who will be joining us online from Universitas Muhammadiyah Malang. So this session will discuss, probably will frame our conference for today and tomorrow. So the topic is reflections on freedom of religion or belief education in the universities. Why we invite Professor Lena Larsen and Professor Syamsul Arifin is because partly the programs which we have today, and also as mentioned by Pak Iqbal earlier, the Freedom of Religion or Belief Fellowship, which has been running for 4 years now, is a continuation of a long process starting more than 10 years ago, I think. And it is not only, it does not only concern education, but it also has some impacts also on the advocacy for freedom of religion or belief, as well as directly or indirectly policy making. And so in this session, I will ask, probably I think first I will ask Professor Syamsul Arifin about the topic of today, and then I will ask you. And I myself will add with our own experience in the past few years in terms of human rights education, or more specifically education on freedom of religion or belief. So the Professor Syamsul Arifin, are you there on the Zoom? Okay, yeah. Can you check your sound, Prof. Syamsul?
Hello, good morning.
Okay, good, thank you.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, that's very good. Okay, so our conference, I mean the title, I will start with the title of this conference, or the subtitle, Pedagogical Opportunities and Challenges in Higher Education in Indonesia. So, Prof. Syamsul, first, I'd like to ask your own experience as someone who have developed education of human rights for many years. And yeah, I have also to mention, I forgot to mention, the book which you have now, Syariat dan HAM, or Sharia and Human Rights, is one of the products from this long engagement, probably 10 years or so before you see it. And Professor Syamsul Arifin was central in the effort of producing this book. And this book is intended to help lecturers on human rights education, or more specifically freedom of religion or belief. And while the title is Shariat and Human Rights, actually it's not only about Shariat. It's also, most of the chapters actually also relevant in the broader discussions of religion and human rights. So Professor Syamsul, the title mentions about opportunities and challenges. And I first would like to ask you, from your experience, what main challenges you see in human rights education, or more specifically, freedom of religion or belief. If you can mention just one or two challenges in your experience to start our discussion, please, Professor Syamsul.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Zainal. I'm so sorry because I cannot attend in the conference, because in the same time we have some activities. Yeah, there's a fast track for one. So actually, I have the material. If you don't mind, maybe please give me to access to share my material. Is okay? Is it possible?
Is it possible? Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay.
By the way, for the audience in this room, if you need interpretations, we have translation to Bahasa Indonesia available using the headphone.
Yes. Okay. It is a small presentation from me. I would like to share with you all from the beginning, how we create the education regarding the intersection of the relationship between human rights and Sharia in higher education, especially in UMM, University of Muhammadiyah Malang. Of course, there is the challenging that Pak Zainal mentioned already, especially about the acceptance to human rights. It is, I think it is like the reflection in the global discourse about the relations, intersection between human right and Sharia, like Masoud Badirin, I tried to quote from his statement like this, It is like Islamic response in the international human rights discourse. And I also get some statement like this. The first, Islam is compatible with international human rights. And the second, human rights can only be fully realized under Islamic law. And the third, international human rights objective is an imperialist agenda that must be rejected. And the fourth, Islam is incompatible with international human rights. And the fifth, international human rights objective has hidden anti-religious agenda. I think my experience when try to create, to develop the education regarding with the relationship between Sharia and human rights, we face the some commentar, some statement like this. I think Pak Fuad, I hope you can share in your session later about your experience, because Pak Fuad has the strategic and Pak Fuad also one of the lecture in the master level course on Sharia and human rights. Pak Zainal, as I mentioned already, that there is some comment some response from some people in Indonesia, also reflected in my research report. The title is Attitude to Human Rights and Freedom of Religion or Belief in Indonesia, Voices of Islamic Religious Leaders in East Java. The location of the research is conducted in 5 cities in the East Java: Surabaya, Sampang. Sampang is one of the city in Madura, Pasuruan, Jombang, and Malang, and Malang. Okay, in this research, in this research, this research revealed the diversity of view regarding the acceptance of Muslim leaders in East Java towards human rights, which reflect the discourse on the relationship and intersection between Islam and human rights, as stated by Fred Haliday, as quoted by Masoud Badirin. I already mentioned the statement from Masoud Badirin. That meant that according my finding of research, there is some response to the human right, international human right. So there is the okay. After I'm completing the research, as already mentioned, Toddling Home, Toddling Home asked me, he has the question, what can be done about the research funding? I answered to the Linham, maybe we need to conduct a workshop that can formulate an educational program that can develop insight into the relationship between human rights and Sharia in a constructive way. So based on the dialogue, we have what we call it the expert meeting. I want to show you the some pictures. It is the beginning of the activities after I complete my research report. We have the expert conference on the master level course on human rights that opening by my rector. Now is the ministry of now is the ministry. It is Lena Larsen, and then it is Breshaf, is totally home. It is my director. It is the sum of participants during the workshop, the master during the expert meeting, and also attend in the expert meeting Hashim Kamali, Hashim Kamali. I think some of the participants in the forum now know well about the Hashim Kamali, and also it is the one of the speaker in the expert meeting, Mosda Mulia. It is Professor Amin Abdullah, and it is Hafid Abbas, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. He is also the activist of human rights, So after expert meeting about the master level course, the MSc started in 2014. It is the one of the speaker from Australia. He is Abdullah Said. He present about Islam and human rights, and then it is Chakli, one of the lecture in the master level course and Sharia, and also Fafuat. And the MLC continued until the next year, 2015. It is Brett Schaaf, also Lena Larsen, and Turalin Home. Okay, so I'm jump to the implication here. The implication to the what the good implication regarding the master level course. I already I published the book. The title is The Most Significant Change. In that book, there is something like the testimony from all of the participation from all of participation of MLC. According to them, that the master level course on Sharia and human rights can change their opinion, their view about Islam and human rights. I want to show you some of the statement from the one participant here, like from this one. I forgot the name, but she stated before, I sometimes did not care for example, any religion-based riots, and the conflict caused by different, in my opinion, are not real. But I was lucky to get experience in Pusam. Pusam, it is the Pusat Studi Agama dan Multikulturalisme, the Center for Study of Religion and Multiculturalism. I was director at that time. I got lesson and knowledge not to ignore my feeling, to close my ear and eyes on each problem of human rights violation, especially in the religion freedom. As a lecturer in university, I will transmit this spirit to all my students, especially through slides in my courses. I would also tell it to my youngest brother who just entered into senior high school. Although my accent is not something great, but in my opinion, it should be shared to others, although it is through a story. It is another story, another statement from another participant. After joining in this training, the basis and the concept of human right and Maqasid Sharia are getting clear for me. Both have on aim realizing justice and prosperity for human being. Actually, human being possess human dignity since they were born. They have right to getting decent life, freedom for choosing belief, and assurance for position. It is just some of the quotation from the former of the participant of master level course on master level course on Sharia. Overall, generally, the participant has the good experience after joining the master level course on Sharia and human rights. She feel get something like shifting of paradigm, shifting of the approaching about the Sharia and human right, about the Sharia and human right. Of course, we have the challenging about the system from some lecture in UMM. Even though the lecturer is well educated, but for the human rights issue, some of them express the resistance here, express the resistance about the human right, the Islam that the human right is from the Western, the human is the part of the Westernization agenda, and so on and so on. But fortunately, I have the small authority as a vice rector until now. It is the second pride for me. So I'm so sorry. I try to use my small authority to continue this program, and finally the program can implement until now, including tomorrow. We're celebrating with Lena, with Nelly, and also Pak Zainal, Pak Fuad, celebrating the new book that already published by Mizan. I think that's all, Pak Zainal. I will continue if there is the question from the participant. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Syamsul. Please stay on the Zoom. We'll have question and answer session later. So, Prof. Syamsul mentioned the different attitudes toward international human rights in general, which becomes one of the sources of the challenges in teaching human rights, or more specifically freedom of religion or belief. And some of this is probably an issue which we have heard a lot, like the view that human rights is part of Western agenda. It may not be compatible to religion, etc. And Prof. Syamsul has introduced his program, and by the way, in the last chapter of the book, he has a chapter on the significant changes from his program at UMM. So now I turn to Bu Lena. So as an academic at the Oslo University and also the director of the Oslo Coalition for Freedom of Religion or Belief, I'm sure you have many experiences in developing academic programs on freedom of religion or belief. So I will ask the same question. What do you think are the main challenges in this area? Please, Bu Lena.
First, good morning and salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm so grateful to be here, that we finally are able to have this conference. Due to the pandemic, we have been waiting now for almost 3 years. So I'm very happy that it's taking place. But I will go straight to your question. And I think that the challenge of introducing or in the academic field on FORB we have to take one step back, and that is to describe the field of promotion of freedom of religion or belief. I would describe it as a discursive field with power relations, with all actors, whether they are politicians, diplomats, whether they are religious leaders, academics, all other actors who are protesting against, who want freedom from religion, who want to change their religion, they are all in this discursive field. And we have to understand this is a complex field and a contested field, a politicized field, so we are like in a minefield. Because religion or belief is touching our deepest emotions, it is about our worldview, our providing meaning for our life and our existences. We are easily looking upon the right to freedom of religion or belief as with an emotional approach, and it becomes an emotional field. And it is often subject to misunderstanding. One type of politicization is that it is only about religious freedom on the cost of all other rights. Then there is about discarding completely the right to freedom of religion or belief altogether. And it is also a misunderstanding to think that the right to freedom of religion or belief is about protecting religion. So all these emotions and these feelings and positions are reasons for the politics, what I call the politics of freedom of religion or belief worldwide in a global sense. I will not dig deeper into it now, because then we could go on until the afternoon. I just simply am responding to your question. But my concern is that the right to FORB, as a result of all this, I call it FORB because it's so long, and actually it was the Oslo Coalition who came up with the acronym of FORB. So we are in the country of acronyms, so we have provided an acronym as well. Is often perceived as a stepchild in the human rights context. And this is precisely that when possible, if we are forgetting the fact that all human rights are they are intertwined, they are indivisible, and have to be looked in the light of in relation to each other. And that is some of the work that the Oslo Coalition has done, is precisely go into a research project and knowledge building project to show what it is about. If we move back also to who are promoting FORB, we have often been seeing, I was at a top-level conference in The Hague a few years ago, we saw that there were diplomats and religious leaders and a few religious NGOs. But where were the academics? I felt a little bit lonely together with a few at that conference. And I thought, oh, here could the academic approach have contributed to something new and move some or provide a possible opening for solution for some of the challenges, not least with regard to blasphemy and non-violence. So then we are coming to the role of the academia. I have been the director of the Oslo Coalition now I'm in my 24th year. So I start to get a little bit of experience of this huge field. And what I see is that there is a missing link. We need the religious leaders, we need the diplomats, we need the politicians, but if we are not treating this field as any other field, in my country, for example, Norway, if they are going to a big change of curriculum or any policy change with regard to education, There is a committee established doing research, producing a white paper, and then is for public hearing. The same with petroleum industry, the same with energy, the same with environmental issues. Everything is subject to research and democratic processes. But the freedom of religion or belief, no, it is outsourced. And in Norway also, we are not very strong in the academic field of religion and human rights. Very, very few. And it's a very weak field. And that is precisely why I'm so happy that it is rather becoming strong here in Indonesia. And you are really, it's really, can also be a lead and an example for other nations. So with treating FORB as an academic topic and a field of knowledge, I think it can provide to prosperity, to democracy, to a harmonious society, because we can lay or put away our emotions for some time and focus on the quality of the arguments, and that is precisely what can provide this space for dialogue and cooperation. So I think that can provide a response or a solution to the challenges also in general that Professor Syamsul described.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I think you made several very important points. So, who are promoting FORB? There are diplomats, religious leaders, but the question is, where are the academics? And the importance of developing knowledge about freedom of religion. Because otherwise it's very prone to politicization. Some people would say, well, human rights is only about freedom of religion. We want to protect our religion. Others say, well, there shouldn't be a special rights to religion, for example. So we need to build knowledge, and this is, I think it's very interesting, and probably it will also set the tone for later discussion today. That the need to develop knowledge and the possibility of politizations of freedom of religion or belief. And that is precisely, I think, at CRCS, we have been, CRCS and ICRS, we have been having this program with the title Developing Knowledge on Freedom of Religion or Belief, because we feel that in Indonesia, I mean, there has been quite significant progress in terms of recognition of human rights in the Constitution after the amendment. The advocacy has also has very important progress. I mean, the advocates, human rights defenders, they use the language of freedom of religion, but actually we don't know enough about freedom of religion, normatively as well as empirically. And that is what we are trying to build here at UGM with the helps of many others. There's Pa Hanif, for example, over there from Jember, who has been also developing this issue. Pa Asvin, the former director of the Indonesian Legal Aid Foundation, which also helped us to, I mean, remind us that it is about developing knowledge, but not only knowledge. We also want to try to connect knowledge and change. So how do we develop knowledge and change, well, change many things, the society, the policy making, etc. And we hope, so at CRCS and ICRS, we also offer a course on religion and human rights for a number of years now. And this semester I teach the course with Pa Diki, who is over there, Pa Diki Sofian. And yeah, we see that the course is not only about, most of all, it's about developing knowledge, but then also how do we connect knowledge and change. So I will give time for the audience here to raise questions, as well as the audience on the Zoom. I don't know how many people we have on the Zoom. 20. 28. Yeah, so there are 28. You can raise your questions, our audience on the Zoom. And probably from the organizers will help me bring the questions, but also in this room. If there are questions, as well as you want to share your own experience in terms of human rights education, or more specifically freedom of religion or belief, please, this is your time, just raise your hands. Yeah. Anyone? I mean the lecturers here. Okay, Mas Ancu, please. You have the microphone over there.
Thank you very much, Pak Zain. Thank you, Ibu Lena and Prof. Syamsul, for sharing your insight for us. I'm concerned with the question with the questions or the concern about who promotes human rights, who promotes the freedom of religion and or belief. What we basically see, or whom we basically see when we ask that question, the one who promotes FOB. If we many times discuss that the value in that concept is universal, and probably this question is for Prof. Syamsul Arifin. Can we find the same values in Islam? And if we do find that, why it is hard to see the parallelism of human rights and Islam? And if we also, like in Indonesia, we have a lot of values that refer to the values. Like, why is it difficult to always, and why is it always for us like to question that question, who promote human rights? And so for Ibu Lena, in your experience, in promoting that, what are basically like the real challenge that you encounter from other countries? Responses to that questions. And in relation to that, I'm always concerned with how these concepts could contribute to many vulnerable groups in Indonesia,
Mas Ancu, Bu Lena asked you to open your mask because it's difficult.
Thank
to hear.
you very much. I'm so glad being asked to open this.
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, sure. Asking about the question who promote FOB, like in your experience, have you ever like in concrete experience asking, I mean the question for who promote the FOB, when you promote FOB outside the Western countries, did you really find the experience like the real questions and if you have that experience, like what are the real problems? My concern is this. Again, if we focus on the values of FOB, it's universal, although we don't use the same language, but we understand the value, like dignity. We share that. And so what is basically, I'm still concerned for the question who promote FOB, is it really valid question? Or is there any something else in relation to that? I hope you understand that. The second question that I would like to ask or share in relation to FOB is that I'm always concerned with vulnerable groups. like who are not even included in the discussion of religion, who are not included in interreligious dialogue. I don't know like why, like until now we still see many times when we claim an event called interreligious dialogue, interreligious discussion, we still see many people who are not included in there. Do we see that also as a challenge for us, the academics, for us as the activists? In a sense that in understanding religion as as an established definition that we all already share. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mas Ancu. Very central questions. But I'd like to ask if there are other questions so we can collect. Okay, I see one. Is that Amana? Okay. Nourish. 2, 3, Mas Sulaiman, I think. Yeah, okay, let's just collect that. And also I see Bu Amina Wadud. Welcome, Bu Amina Wadud. And Bu Amina actually taught the course Religion and Human Rights at CRCS, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, right? So if you later want to share your experience, that will also be good. Yeah, for now, Nourish, please.
Well, thank you, Pak Zainal. I would like to have very brief questions, maybe a little bit also personal experience in terms of religion and human rights during my academic journey. Maybe these questions I would like to address Ibu Lena and then Professor Syamsul. When we speak about Indonesia, of course you already know that we are so diverse, yeah, in the basic principle nation, Pancasila and Bhinneka Tunggal Ika. But after reformations, we are challenging the issue of transnationalism, which is very huge debate currently. Ibu Lena also mentioned that we at least involve 3 levels of engaging in the religion and human rights, especially in the education. We also need a government level and then academic and then non-government organizations. But in reality, it is not as simple as like we discuss today. For example, there were some issue and cases regarding transnational that I mentioned before. Hizbut Tahrir, like FPI, Front Pembela Islam, and many others, which is encouraging us to readmit whether it is kind of religion and human rights or the problem of democracy. So actually in the government level, in terms of Indonesian case, very confusing for us, to be honest. So I would like to ask your opinion, in what position in terms of religion and human rights, and then in the global issue, we are now facing transnationalism, like religious radicalism, extremism, and so on. This is what we are looking and trying to find out what is the position of religion and human rights. In the one side, like Hizbut Tahrir, for example, Indonesia already banned by the government, which is debatable issue as well. So I would like to know what is your opinion, how the religion and human rights standing in this problematic issue. Thank you, Pak Zainal.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Next, please. And please make it short. We don't have much time. We only have, I think, 10 minutes left. Yeah, please, Mas Sulaiman.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Syamsul. My question is, I think, for Prof. Syamsul. Here, my name is Sulaiman from Sriwijaya State Buddhist College, Tangerang, not in Palembang. Direct question is, I think we have the same things about the different interpretation of religious culture or something in our textual like that. How do you get these challenges to the difference about these challenges, the differences about this different interpretation to pedagogical opportunity in our class?
Okay.
As a lecturer? As Islam, I think also we have a different interpretation about some issue. Thank you,
Okay.
Prof.
Yeah, thank you very much. The last one. Please state your name. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for the time. My name is Ari Wiryadinata from Universitas Bengkulu. My question goes to Miss or Madam Lena. As you mentioned before that, in promoting freedom of religions and belief is kind of like the concurrent responsibility. I mean that the together responsibility by striving to the diplomat and also the politicians. Yes, the diplomat is kind of the executive brains in the policy making process, and then the politician is in the law making process. I concerns in the judiciary power. How then to promote the understand and then also the inclusivity of the freedom of religion issues in the decision-making process in the judiciary power. Did you have the experience then how to make the judges having good knowledge, insight regarding the issue of the freedom of religion so they can make the good decisions when they have the issue regarding the conflicting in the freedom of religions and belief? I think this all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I will first give time to Bu Lena. I hope you get all the questions.
The first, it was very long, so if you just can...
Yeah, I'll try to summarize Mas Ancho's question. So basically he says, he speaks about the real challenge in promoting FORB. I mean, if you focus on the values of human rights, for example, they are universal. For example, human dignity, it's everywhere. So why is it that difficult? I mean, if this is really universal, why is it difficult? Or is there something else which makes it difficult, I mean, to promote human rights or freedom of religion or belief? And then secondly, his question is about the exclusive definition of religion, which excludes vulnerable groups who actually need to be protected by freedom of religion or belief. Yeah. Please.
I think that all the questions that have been posed, as I have understood them, actually can be summarized as a challenge to the following. Is freedom of religion or belief about religions or beliefs? I say no, it's not about religion, it's not about belief. It is about each human being's right to have their religion, belief or conviction according to his or her own choice. That is what FORB is about. It's not about religion. So to use religious truth and present truth claims to limit other people's right to freedom of religion or belief is completely against the spirit of international human rights. And we already there see that there is a huge challenge in front of us, because we have state identity politics, we have religious nationalism, we have religious leaders' truth claims, we have the internal claim of one truth within one tradition. In the legal sense, we tend to see each religion or belief as a monolithic entity, and that is simply not the truth. We forget the gender perspective. We forget vulnerable groups. So that is what we are facing because of this misconception of what the right to freedom of religion is about. And that is where academia comes in. Because in the academia, we are not dealing with truth claims. We are dealing with analysis, with knowledge building of what it is about, and analysis of problems on the ground. And during your program and during the program at the Muhammadiyah University in Malang, many different essays and articles had been written analyzing the challenges that we are facing. So, of course, the Panchasila with the definition of religion as the UN definitions of religion in different UN documents. It's a challenge because it is not according to like an, what you say, an analytical, objective, non-normative approach. So what we need is not only legal experts, religious leaders, we also need from humanities. We need philosophers, we need historians of religion, experts in religious studies. We need also social anthropologists, sociologists, experts in economy, from all, and medicine, or from all other strands in order to face this as, and deal with it as an academic field. If we take the stance, and this is a response to Ansho and vulnerable groups, if we take this more correct understanding that it is not about religion or belief, but it is the right to have a religious belief according to one's own choice, then it's also the right not to be discriminated against or be subject to harmful practice because of that choice. And that is a real challenge, because it demands from us that we have a deep respect for the human quality in each our co-human beings in the whole world. And that is really, it becomes personal, and not only is a legal challenge in the public, but this is also a personal challenge, an ethical challenge for each and one of us. How are we going to deal with it? But without the knowledge production, we will have very few tools. We will not be free to discuss all the challenges in a non-biased way. That is where knowledge building, the importance of knowledge building coming in. And it is not only about teaching for, but the university is to bring this knowledge out. And it's also about training judges, training, and some of the candidates from universities are going to be politicians. They will bring this into their work as politicians, and the society will hopefully change for a little better each time. Even this is a long-term process, and the right to form is of course an ideal. And let me just be personal in the end. I had an interview with an Islamic leader in France, and I asked him about reform and coming together within Islamic tradition. And I asked him, so what about reform then? He said, and that is also a reminder that the religious leaders are much needed, but it has to be a conversation between religious leaders and academia. It should not be a separate island with no contact. He said, reform is taking place within academia, but without conversation with religious leaders, no real reform within the tradition is going to take place. So there is an interdependency there that has to be protected and has to be promoted or used as a tool for improvement of the society. Now, of course, my field is Islamic studies, so I use Islam as a background, but this, of course, it is also valid for all other traditions I've used. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. We actually now it's exactly 10, but I want to give time. I ask your generosity to give 5 minutes of your coffee time to Professor Syamsul Arifin to answer the questions. Prof. Syamsul, are you there still on the Zoom? Yes, please, Pak Syamsul, if you can answer. I know there are a lot of questions, but hopefully you can make it brief in 2 or 3 minutes, please.
Yes, thank you, Pak Zainal. Actually, be honest, my expertise is not in human rights. Yeah, I'm professor on sociology of religion. My position in the developing, especially in the master level course on Sharia, that to develop the knowledge about constructively about the relation between Sharia and human rights. My position is organizer. I'm very happy because I have the good team like Pa Ahmad Nur Fuad and also Bu Chekli. They have the good expertise here in. Do you hear me? Hello?
Sorry?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, thank you. I'll continue. Because Pak Fuad and Bu Chekli, I think they have the good expertise in human rights and also in Islam. So I'm my position here in the MLC as organizer. How to develop the course, how to develop the education, and invite the participants so that they can develop the relationship between Sharia and human rights constructively. So I hope Pak Fuad in his session can explain about this issue, including the question from Bagir. His question is, what is the concept of human right in Islamic perspective? I think Pak Fuad will explain about this question. Okay, Pak Zainal, it is my short answer to all of question.
Okay.
But please, there is the additional from me. I think we in some view that Islam. Actually, Islam there is some values, the fundamental values between Islam and human rights. So that's why it is our opportunity to instilling to the participant to develop their opinion about the some values between Islam and human rights. Okay, so education has the good role. As the strategic role to develop about this relation. Okay, Pak Zainal, that's all.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Syamsul. I know the time is not enough to answer all your questions. Many questions are not answered probably now. But we have today and tomorrow, we still have many sessions. And I believe actually some of the questions are relevant for later sessions as well. The question about interpretations, for example. Before closing this, I will actually read a question on the Zoom, which we cannot answer now, but I think it's probably more appropriate for the next session. So it's a good bridge for this third session. So this is a question from Bekti on the Zoom. I think the main challenge when talking human rights in relation to Islam, the question is not whether or not Islam compatible with human rights, but rather to ask what is the concept of human rights in Islamic perspectives. I hope Bu Lena and Professor Syamsul and maybe later speakers would like to respond to the questions. So what we get from this session, I think we have started discussing some of the main challenges, and Bu Lena has articulately mentions the opportunities as well as the importance of building knowledge, not leaving the issue of promoting freedom of religion or belief to diplomats or politicians, to lawyers, but also to academics, that the academics, and I believe most of us here come from different universities. So the main challenge is for the academics to develop this discourse on freedom of religion or belief and human rights in general, and make it relevant, make it beneficial to create changes in society. So with that, I close these sessions. It's exactly 10:05 now, so I take 5 minutes of your break time. We don't have much time for the next sessions. 10 minutes from now, we will have the third session. So I suggest there's coffee outside, is that? Yeah, so you just go quickly and then come back so that we can start the next session on time. And Arum will be the moderator for the next session. Thank you very much, Bu Lena, Professor Syamsul, as well as all the participants in the room and the Zoom. Thank you.
So, this was in spirit of highness.